All right, so yesterday we started doing this. Today's lesson mostly is just going to be continuing this same process. Okay, know that this process is not a lot of fun. Okay, I know that it takes some time. After our first quiz, I'm not going to make you do this again. Okay, you don't need to do it the exact same way. There are other ways of doing it. You still need to understand this, and I'll show you probably in a month how we're going to use this in the future. But for right now, you just need to understand the basics of this thing. Okay, so this is called the limit definition of a derivative. Okay, the limit definition of a derivative. That's what we're working with here. All right, so it says find the slope of the curve for this given x value, and we are using this model right here. All right, so let's set that thing up. We're going to find the limit as h approaches 0. The first thing it asks us to do is to write f of x plus h. What does it mean for me to do if I'm doing f of x plus h? Can for all of the x's. So for this x right there and that x right there, we're going to plug in x plus h. So it's going to be this 2 parentheses squared plus 3 plus 4. And everywhere we had an x, he's going to replace it with x plus h. Okay, that's this first part. All he's done so far is this part right here. Then we're going to put a minus sign. Okay, so minus f of x. So if we're going minus f of x, oh, this is f of x. This whole thing right here. 2x squared plus 3x plus 4 all over h. But if you write it like this, you're going to be completely wrong. What else do I need to do here? You got to put it inside of parentheses. Otherwise, you're only subtracting one thing, and you really need to subtract them all. All right? That's the first setup, and we're finding a limit at 1 or at 0. So if I plugged in 0, that would be great. But if I plug in 0 here, I'm going to get 0 over 0. It's going to be DNE. Or it's going to be indeterminate form, sorry. So what do I need to do next? I need to FOIL next. You are doing this. You square it before you multiply by 2. Okay? So I'm not going to write it all out, but it would be x plus h times x plus h. FOIL that thing. Memorize it, really, because if you memorize it, it makes this problem a lot easier. You get x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. But don't forget, you still have this 2 in front as well. So now I'm going to do this setup, the limit as h approaches 0. Distribute that 2 to this newly, I did some weird distributing lines there, but you get the idea. 2x squared plus 4xh plus 2h squared. And then you still have all of that. Keep working with your friend and see if you can get it the rest of the way simplified from there. When you get an answer, show me with your fingers what you got in the end so I can check. All right, so I FOILed that first part, and I'm going to keep going with this. So now I'm here. 3 times x, 3 times h. So 3x plus 3h. I got this plus 4 right here. I've got this minus sign that I need to distribute, so it's now going to be minus 2x squared minus 3x minus 4. This one is the worst case scenario, so if you're looking at it right now and you're like, man, that's a lot, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, do the best you can. It's never going to be harder than this for at least what we do. Jalen, what can I do next?
You can cross out 2x squared on both sides because it's
good.
2x.
One's positive 2x squared, one's minus 2x squared. What else?
And then you can also do that 3x because one's
plus 3x minus 3x. Plus 4 minus 4. Those things are all canceling. Thank you, man. Okay. Once we've looked at that, we're looking for what else is left over. So I've got a 4xh, a 2h squared, and a 3x. What do you notice about all of those things? They all have an h in them. So if they all have an h, we can factor an h out. So the limit as h approaches 0, I'm taking an h out. You got to factor it out of all of them. Once I factor that out, cancel. I got an h on top, h on bottom. I canceled out the h's. Then I'm going to do what from here? Plug in 0. This is a limit problem. I'm plugging in 0 for h. I'm plugging it in for h because it's h approaches 0. So what I'm left with then is just this 4x plus 3. Okay, that's important. That right there is f prime of x. Okay, that is the derivative. And that, again, that word might not make a lot of sense to you yet, but that is the derivative. That is the equation that allows you to calculate the slope of this parabola at any point. Okay, f prime of x, that's the derivative. On this question in particular, they were asking us, man, I did a lot of work here. I got to keep zooming out. I got to find the derivative, find the slope of the curve at x equals 1. So what do I need to do to find the slope at x equals 1? Plug in 1. So I'm going to find f prime at 1. 4 times 1 plus 3, I get 7. It's a long process. Again, after our first quiz, I'm not going to make you do it again. Okay? I'm only going to make you do it on this quiz because later on we're going to do it in different ways. You still need to understand it. You still need to recognize it, but we'll do it in a different way. Questions on something on that first one? The slope of the line is 7 at that spot. Keep your bell work out. Let's do it again. Okay? So, here's the same problem. It looks like the very same thing. F of x is 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. We're finding the slope of the curve at x equals 1. The difference here is I want you to use the other method. The limit as x approaches c. All right, so let's start that thing off. We're finding the limit as x approaches c. What is c going to be here? It's 1. Remember when we're doing this method, it's wherever you're trying to find the slope at. This is not going to give me an equation in the end. It's going to give me a number. Okay? It only is going to work for this problem when x is equal to 1. So we're plugging a 1 right in here for c. So everywhere I got a c in this problem, I'm plugging in a 1. Then I write down f of x. Okay, cool. This is f of x. 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. On bottom, I've got x minus c. So on bottom, it's x minus 1. And then right here, it's minus f of c. What am I going to do to find f of c? Find f of 1, because my c value is 1. So you're taking 1 and you're plugging it into that equation right there. Then you got to factor, cancel, plug back in, work with your neighbor, see what you can do. So first thing I do is find f of 1. So you're plugging into this equation right here. 2 times 1 squared plus 3 times 1 plus 4. Again, I'm plugging into this equation. What did we end up getting there? 9, because it's 2 plus 3 plus 4. I get 9. The one mistake my students made first period is they weren't going minus f of c. Okay, so it's minus 9 right there. Be careful. If I plug in 1, I'm going to get 0 over 0. Okay, every time I set this up, I'm going to get 0 over 0 when I do that. So what I need to do is I need to factor this guy right here. I know when I factor it, I'm going to get the x minus 1 on bottom as well. All right, so I'm just going to come right over here to the side. 2x squared plus 3x minus 5. All right, if you're already good at this, great. Do it factoring however makes you happy. Okay, if you're not good at it, then follow along with me. Okay, and I'm going to show you borrow and payback. First thing you got to check is, can you just take a number out of everything? Can I divide everything by 2? No. So then I'm going to do borrow and payback. Okay, so remember how we do this. I take this number, I borrow it over here. Once I've borrowed, I'm going to factor. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to get me 10 and add to get me 3. So 5 and negative 2. Then I'm going to divide by whatever number. So I factored. Now I'm going to pay back. So whatever I multiplied in the beginning, I'm going to divide by. 2 divided by 2, oh yeah, that's 1. So I get x minus 1, like I wanted to, because it needs to cancel with that. This one I can't simplify. If you can't simplify it, that 2 goes in front when we're writing it as a factor. 2x plus 5. Okay, you got to put that 2 back in front. It's like multiplying both things by 2. So once I've done this, now I get this problem. Limit as x approaches 1. I factored the top. 2x plus 5 and an x minus 1. I've got an x minus 1 on bottom. If you did it right, you better cancel out something. Here I've got an x minus 1 on top and bottom. We're going to cancel. Now what do I need to do? Plug in 1. Take that 1, plug it in. I get 2 times 1 plus 5. I get 7. This doesn't get me f prime of x. This just gets me f prime at 1. It finds a slope at a specific value. Okay, that is the answer that I get there. So not as helpful as the last one. We didn't have to do the crazy FOIL distribute that we had to do on the last one, but you didn't get quite as much information. I only found the slope at 1, not a slope equation. Questions on what we did in bell work? Show me with your fingers 0 to 5. How comfortable are you with those two methods? Okay, that's pretty good. So good news is I'm not teaching you anything else today. Okay, all we have left is one little practice, and then you're going to work on your own. Okay, let's pull out our notes from yesterday, please. We're on the very back page. Really, the only thing I'm going to teach you today is this phrase. That's the only new thing I'm teaching you. Normal line. Okay, we do a tangent line like 98% of the time on questions. They're going to say, what's the tangent line? What's the tangent line? What's the tangent line? We've done that a bunch. 1 out of 50, they're going to say, find the normal line. They're just mean. Normal line is exactly like a tangent line. The only difference is the slope is perpendicular. Okay, so remember what perpendicular means. If I told you the slope of something was 3, what is the perpendicular slope to 3 going to be? Negative 1/3. It is the opposite reciprocal. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Okay, flip the fraction, change the sign. All right, so let's do one last example today. Example 7, we get this function. It's a parabola again. Imagine that. We are finding the slope of the tangent line at 3. So right now, if we're saying find the slope of a tangent line, I got to find the derivative. I got to use that limit definition of a derivative. We got 2 of them. I don't really care which one we pick. Which one do we want to do? We'll do it together. First or second? The first one. So then do this one on your paper for me. The limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. Do that with your neighbor. Get an answer for me, please. Go. Better one for us to do. All right, so we're setting this thing up. It's the limit as h approaches 0. So, Jesse, what does it mean for us to do f of x plus h here? Good. So we're plugging in x plus h for x here. So we get that and this. You do need to memorize the basic pattern. I'm not going to say you got to write this out 50 times in a row or anything, but you need to recognize that it's f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. So we got that. Emma, what would I put next here?
I put it over H. Okay.
Yep. So over h, and then it's
I subtracted in the parentheses.
good.
2x squared minus 4x.
Good. I just wanted to hear the parentheses part. We got to put that in parentheses. Good. So we get to this point. If I were to plug in 0, I'd get 0 over 0. So I need to FOIL this thing out. So again, if you're not good at this, memorize it. But that right there is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And I'm going to take that and multiply it by 2. And I just hate writing it out a second time. That's why I'm writing it funkily to the side there. But I'm going to distribute that thing in. So I'm going to get 2x squared plus 4xh plus 2h squared. Distribute here, minus 4x, minus 4h. Distribute here, minus 2x squared, plus 4x, all over h. Lulu, what can I do next? 2x squared, negative 2x squared. Good. Minus 4x, positive 4x. I think that's it. I think you're good. So if she said, I think that's it, then everything else should have an h in it. Does everything else have an h in it? Yeah, it does. That has an h, that has an h, that has an h, that has an h. So I'm canceling an h out of all of them. Okay, so I've ran out of space here. But the limit as h approaches 0, if I cancel out an h, I'm pulling it out in front. I took an h out of everything on top. I can then cancel the h's. And then I can plug back in, take this 0 and plug it in for h. I am left with this, 4x minus 4. That is what f prime of x is. It gives me an equation here because I was doing as h approaches 0. So the question was, that wasn't the question. The question was find the slope of the tangent line at 3. So what do I need to do if I want to find the slope of the tangent line at 3? Plug in 3. So I'm really going to find f prime at 3. My first period, I had a girl that did all her homework. She did everything right, and she got, or the amount, a lot of people did this. Actually, it was like 5 different kids. They would get to this, then they'd plug in 3, and they'd get the wrong answer. Okay, be careful. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. Got some 7s earlier, got some 9s. Just be careful. Write the equation of the tangent line. So we did the hard part. All right, cool. Writing an equation of a tangent line. So I'm going to get this. Y minus, x minus. That is called point slope form. You need 2 things for point slope form. What 2 things you need for point slope form? Point and a slope. I got the slope. This is my slope. It's 8. I've got the x value of my point. It's a 3. I need the y value. How can I find the y value? Plug into the original. This is going to get me y because it's f of x. So it's 2 times 3 squared minus 4 times 3. That's going to get you 18. Yeah, this is 18 minus 12. Make sure you're squaring before you multiplying. So I get 6. So the ordered pair is 3 comma 6. So it's y minus 6. Boom. That is the equation of the tangent line. That right there. Done. The last part says write the equation of the normal line. So if I'm writing the equation of the normal line, oh, it's the same thing as the tangent line. Y minus equals x minus. I still got the same point. This point didn't change. It's still 3, 6. So it's x minus 3, y minus 6. The only difference if we're doing normal line means what kind of line? A perpendicular. So if my slope was 8, now it's going to be negative 1/8, opposite reciprocal.